done through remote participation. Specific information and the general guidelines for the remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting will be found on the town's website at www.shrewsburyma.gov/coronavirus. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, did I get that right? Despite best efforts, we will post the town's on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. To listen to this meeting, dial 1-440-482-5242 and enter PIN number 789-649-452#. Please mute your device by pressing *6. So it is 6:02, calling the meeting to order. Any board member comments? No comments. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending. I know it's a short notice that we had, but I was looking at trying to have some information on sending a letter to the planning board regarding the housing trust position on the inclusionary zoning law. And, looking at the timing on, we're doing a lot of good work. There's a lot of things that we have accomplished since December, but there's still a long way to go before we can be in a position where, we can do some good work in increasing the affordable housing stock in Shrewsbury. So with that said, we know that there are, developments, opportunities that are in the pipeline. And, one of the thoughts that I had was for the Affordable Housing Trust Committee to recommend to the planning board to require developers to build the affordable housing instead of paying into the fee in lieu, the special permit. So that will get us, an opportunity to, jumpstart the process, have some housing stock built for, developed for families that need it now, while we work on, our developing our plan and getting then into that position down the road to, do what, we have been tasked to do, which is increasing the housing stock. So I just wanted to take an opportunity here and give everyone an opportunity here, to hear from my fellow committee members and to get your thoughts and to see if this is something that you think it's something that we should do.
Are you looking for anyone to start?
Anyone can start. Well, you're on.
Well, I think we should take a position on it. I realize this is coming up rather quickly and we're early in the process, but this is when an application has come up to the planning board. And I mean, let's face it. I think at least from what Bernie said, and I don't, unless there's other information that is new that I haven't heard. In 18 years, we may have had 2 units, standalone units that actually were built through this process. So obviously, we're not getting the housing stock built I know that we're getting it through the apartments, but if I read the bylaw correctly the other day, apartments can't waive the affordable, providing the affordable housing stock. So on the housing part, there is the opportunity for the developers basically to pay the fee in lieu, and that's apparently what they've been doing. And we're just not getting the stock. And I think I just believe that we should start asking the planning board to require the housing to be built. And I could go on, but I'll stop there.
I'll agree with you, Mo. And the planning board meeting that I was able to watch not too long ago, that was brought up by one of the board members, I believe it was Steve Boulay, who was not in favor of having these developers pay in the fee in lieu of and to actually build the affordable units. So the only concern that was brought up is that the over 55 developments, and Bernie and Kristen, please correct me if I'm wrong, you can't exclude children 0 to 17 years old in the affordable units.
Yeah, that's correct. So
okay.
I just wanted to clarify, I'm going to probably end up clarifying that in the August 4th meeting anyways, is that someone who's 55 and plus has to be either the renter or the owner. So if it's for sale, if it's for rent, the person on that has to be 55 plus. However, if for any reason they have custody or whatever of a child under 18, they can't be denied to live with them, and in the affordable units only. So just from being on the board and listening, not being on the board, but staffing the board and listening to them, that doesn't seem to be as big a problem with board members, at least the board, the way it is constituted today. I agree with that. I also, though, agree with Hector. I think Hector has a good point. I think if the Housing Trust has something to say, despite individual board members' opinions on the planning board, I think a letter would go a long way towards really moving that conversation forward and along.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial for our trust to inform the planning board of our history of how far we've come in the past few months that we've been meeting, that we are entering a prioritization plan, that we hope for them to participate because they have been involved in so many housing project approvals, and that we would recommend at this time, based upon the step that we're, the knowledge that we have as a trust, that we would recommend that they start requiring developers to build the units rather than collecting the fees, because based upon the research we have been doing so far, it takes a lot of money out of the trust to build 1 or 2 units, in which a developer is already mobilized, has a site, has perhaps the resources. I don't know that for sure, but we would prefer to see the units built within these developments at this time based upon the knowledge that we have.
It sounds like we're all in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Bernie, I didn't have much time today, but yesterday I spent some time on DATD's site and MHP's site to try to find out how a developer would build an affordable unit, given what it appears the numbers are that an affordable unit would have to sell for. If those numbers are close to what our calculation was, and I couldn't find anything on the site that addresses that at all. Like it everything I could find kind of followed what we have in the bylaw. So if that number is like that house has to sell for, say, just for sake of argument, 250, 300,000, you can't build a house that would fit into that neighborhood for 300,000. So if the question came up tomorrow night is, how does this happen? I guess one answer is it's not our problem. But the other one is practically, how is that done? I mean, do we know? Kristen, do you know?
Well, I do know that there's certain subsidies through DHCD and other opportunities. So the developer could seek those out. I'm not an expert in those subsidies, but and I'm also not an expert in development. So I don't know if a developer could or could not develop a unit for that price. Perhaps they could and they'd just be breaking even, or they'd be using some of the proceeds from the other market rate units to subsidize that affordable unit.
Well, so my understanding is, and I'm not defending the developer. I just trying to think it through. My understanding from a developer I know who's currently developing, and not having to deal with the affordable, what it costs per square foot for a developer to build, not including the land. I don't have the paper in front of me, but it's somewhere north of $250 a square foot.
So
If somebody's building 3,000 square foot houses, and it has to be similar, just say for the sake of argument, they could get away with building a 2,500 square foot house. You're talking a lot of money. You're talking over $500,000, right?
may I interject?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, when planning board looks at special permits for this for any project, right, residential, commercial, they're not asked to evaluate the finances, right? The only time that really ever comes up is like for ZBA for a 40B project, right, when they do pro formas and ensure that they're viable, and that actually ends up going through the state anyways. I think this is a larger discussion that we can have, but the planning board, when it looks at special permits, isn't looking at, and again, not just for anything currently before the board at any time, they're looking at what's best for the community, right? That's what they're always asked to look at. What's good for the community, what's more detrimental to the community. They're not asked to weigh the pros and cons for a developer at any given time. So, I mean, I think tonight where Hector's going is, does this board or committee want to make a broad statement, right? I think that's, and Hector, I don't want to speak for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's kind of making a broad statement and sending that over to the board before tomorrow's meeting.
No, can I just say, I agree with you, Bernie. I'm just saying, I plan to go to the meeting tomorrow night, but I mean, if somebody brings that up, well, we're not going to answer that question. We're just saying, look, we just think it's the best thing for the town. That's not in our purview to discuss that.
There has been other projects, right, where it has been done, not a lot, but there is one other subdivision where, and so this is kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, when the formula comes up with an odd number for, say, a single family subdivision, like the one before the board tomorrow night, the developer has the option to actually round that up to the even number, so from 1 to 2, for example, and build a duplex on one of the lots. Now that duplex has to look just like any other single family on the site, so in the subdivision, so you don't even tell it's a duplex. But the fact of the matter is they can actually do 2. We allow for that flexibility, which does give them, I would imagine, if that's your concern, the developer a little more in subsidies. And we do have that on just one other site in town, but we do have it. And Jay Thomas just the other day reminded me of the name of the subdivision, and it keeps slipping my mind because it's many years before I got here.
Yeah, it's Oak Meadow Farms.
Oak Meadow, thank you. I always say the different one, and I never want to say the wrong one. I believe it's an old Ed Muntz project, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, neither here nor there, but it was built. And then the larger projects, like we're seeing at Market Basket, I mean, I think they could, in theory, go for a special permit, but they understand there's such a large development with so many units that they wouldn't get through. So they include them. So, but anyways, I want to get back to where we're kind of at. I don't want to have everyone spend all evening here and hand it back to Hector. And Mo, to your point, I don't disagree. And Rowan and I have started some research into trying to figure that out, what happens behind DHCD doors between them and a developer for these, just so we have a better understanding. And it's not something they teach us in those meetings. They always teach it from the planning side, not from the developer side. So Hector, I'm going to hand it back to you. I'm going to stop talking, Hector. And I think my point was just that, again, going back to the kind of letter of intent, if you will, towards the planning board, or the position, if you will, of the trust.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. And I'll stop talking.
Yeah, so I think that, as I said earlier, I think we're all in agreement that we should have, a letter issued on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust Committee and, stating our position, which is that we would like to create housing instead of having the developers paying into the fee in lieu of.
Yes, I agree.
I agree.
Agreed.
So do you need a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I think, did you want to, I did start to draft a letter that I thought we could use as a template, but like I said, I can't access it. The server's down right now. I did have a quote right from the zoning bylaws section, a 7K number 4, which I'll ask your permission to put it in there, but it says, under any development not exempted herein shall provide affordable housing through one of the following methods. And the first one says affordable units constructed on the locus of the development. That's what an inclusion unit is. And then it says this is the preferred method of complying with the inclusionary housing requirement. So with this committee's agreement, I'd like to include that in the letter. I think that's relevant. I did also start making some mention of the master plan, the housing production plan. Kristen, I don't know. I know you and I had a bit of a back and forth. I think some of it got lost with the server. So if you want to weigh in.
Yeah, just Bernie did provide me with a draft letter, and I apologize. I also cannot get on the server, and we both tried. We didn't save it locally. I just made some reference that we would be continuing our work and would inform the planning board along the way, and also look forward to their input when we're working on the prioritization. So I think I alluded to that in my initial preliminary comments, and those are just some of the items that I had asked Bertie to potentially incorporate into the letter to the planning board, that we're looking to be partners with them.
So Mo, to your point, and thank you, Kristen, for that. And I've just jotted some notes down to make sure I include those. But hopefully tomorrow I'll be back on first thing in the morning. So Hector, I think to Mo's point is you probably want to take a vote instructing the planning director to the planning department to draft and issue a letter from the housing trust to the planning board.
Right.
Regarding this issue, I'll let you talk to that.
Great. Okay. So I would say, so moved.
No, I think Hector has to ask for a motion. Someone has to make a motion.
Oh,
so-
okay.
I make a motion for the planning department to develop a notice to the planning board stating the position as discussed on creating the housing instead of paying into the fee in lieu of, and include the section, was it K4?
Section 7K.
7K, sorry.
Yep.
7K.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, everyone. What I will do is incorporate Kristen's comments and send everyone a draft in the morning. If you have any questions or concerns before Hector signs it, get back to me as soon as possible. And then Hector, I'll have you probably, if you can't make it in the office, we'll just have you DocuSign it and I'll get it over to the board right away.
Yeah, I'll be in town in Boston tomorrow, but I'll be able to DocuSign if.
I'll have Emily send you a DocuSign, so that's fine.
Beautiful.
Great.
There is one other item, Mr. Chairman, on the agenda.
Yes, review the advertising for scope of service for the action plan.
Yep, so it went out on Monday. It got posted on our website. It went out on social media first thing on Tuesday after we sent it to the town manager's office. I've also sent it out to, I want to say 7, maybe 8 different consulting firms that deal with housing. I haven't heard back from them yet, but it's only been 24 hours, so we probably want to give them a bit of time. Rowan McAllister I'm going to be away for a couple weeks. Rowan McAllister will be covering for me for this, for the trust. So if you have any other ideas, we've advertised it. I'm going to be reaching out to CMRPC. And if anyone has any connections, anything any ideas that you might have for advertising further, if you know someone who's in a housing consulting firm and you're like, I can put you in touch with them, by all means, send us that information. We'd love to hear it. Or if you have another a public posting area, that'd be great too. So if there's like a weekly newsletter, a monthly newsletter, we can send it out and let you know. Let us know.
Would it help to put that on LinkedIn?
We did, Mr. Chairman, yesterday on the Shrewsbury LinkedIn, and I did repost it on my personal page where I know I have a lot of connections with planners and planning firms.
And has this been also uploaded into the share folder? Our share folder?
That's a great question. You can actually go to your own webpage, the Affordable Housing Trust webpage. It's right there. But I can upload it as well.
Yeah.
Bernie, the only other spot I think on Mass APA, so the American Planning Association Mass chapter has a section for jobs and RFPs. If we can get it over to them if you haven't already done that.
Not yet, but I'll put a note right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cahill. Any other questions? Any other business that we need to cover?
Oh, I just update you. So far we have 2 applications that have been submitted to the board to fill that vacant seat on the trust. But either today or tomorrow we're re-advertising the position again, just in an effort to try to maximize the amount of people that might be interested. And the current plan is to hopefully review and act on the applications on our next meeting on the 26th. So if you know anybody who's interested, get the word out. But it's in process, so hopefully we'll get some more responses. We have 2, so it'd be nice to have a few more, but we'll deal with what we got.
Great, thank you. And for the record, our next meeting is August 17th.
Okay. Is that an in-person meeting?
It is. It's
Okay. There's a possibility I might not be available. I'm not going to know until after August 9th.
So we could always have in person for the majority, and we could have a hybrid option potentially. The all remote option potentially goes away for us on Friday unless the state votes to extend that. So we're monitoring that very closely, but the town of Shrewsbury has adopted remote participation, which allows for if the chairperson and a quorum is actually in the room, someone else can participate remotely on the board or commission.
Okay, that might have to be what I do. I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay, just to give you a heads up.
no, thank you.
Okay.
Great. Any other business?
Yep.
Good. Well, there being none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Under half an hour. In fact, good man.
Thank you, everyone.
Good job.
Thank you. Have a good
All right,
evening.
thanks, everyone. Good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.